today's lesson, we're going to start looking at the first three presidents. We're going to go through the first five presidents in the next two lessons, but today we're going to look at the first three presidents. Of course, the first president is George Washington. He's the first in everything. He was, the commander-in-chief during the Revolutionary War. He was the president of the Constitutional Convention. We already know this. But then when he becomes president, not only is he the first president, but he's the first to do anything. Okay, so for an example, people wanted to call him Your Excellency or Your Highness or something like that, and he said no, Mr. President will do. So we call our president to this very day Mr. President. But the three things that you really do need to remember about him is that he picks the first judges to the new federal court system. There are no judges in the courts, and there's no justices in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is empty. There's nobody there. So he has to fill these positions, and the way that he does so is going to be looked at and modeled. And he knows this. He knows that this is an awesome responsibility to be the first and to set the tone and the example for the country. He also presides over the addition of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. He's the first president. This is when it happens. This makes people like George Mason and Patrick Henry feel a lot better about the Constitution because they wanted this Bill of Rights, this document of individual rights in our government, and he sees it through so that it can be added to the Constitution. And then finally, he oversees the development of the new capital. Remember, we were either in New York or Philadelphia, but there was no capital city, and they decided Washington, District of Columbia, would be our capital, and that's where the government would go to. Finally, Benjamin Banneker is a name that we should know. He is associated with this project to build a new capital city, and he is an African-American astronomer and surveyor who helps map out the new capital in what is now Washington, D.C. Okay, president number 2 is John Adams, who was the vice president under George Washington, and he has a very tough presidency. He has Thomas Jefferson as his vice president, and even though they were really good friends before and after this time period, they did not get along very well. They did not see eye to eye. Thomas Jefferson was very close to France. John Adams, even though he probably lent a little bit more to Great Britain as far as trade and relations are concerned, tried to balance between France and Britain. And it was not easy. France and Britain, once again, were fighting, and France had helped us during the Revolutionary War and wanted our help. And of course, Great Britain, we had very close ties with trade and so forth. And so they wanted us to choose sides, and Adam had to walk a tightrope to stay out of war during this time period. But that wasn't his toughest problem. His toughest problem was actually his vice president, who formed a political party basically opposing him. So John Adams was a member of the Federalist Party, and Thomas Jefferson would be at the head of the Democratic Republican Party. So they had a very different view of the Constitution. One party was very much for the central government, and Thomas Jefferson's Democratic Republicans were more for the states and more for liberty and about the people and so forth. Whereas John Adams felt, we need a strong central government to protect ourselves and so forth. Both very valid points of view, but they were at the time very opposed to each other. So Thomas Jefferson did not make it very easy for John Adams, and John Adams actually loses his re-election to Thomas Jefferson, and Thomas Jefferson becomes our third president. Okay. So the two-party system starts under John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson now takes over, and he's really known, we're going to remember him for the Louisiana Purchase. The Louisiana Purchase, and then he sends two famous Americans, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, you probably remember him as Lewis and Clark, to go and check out this territory. Now let me jump ahead here to chapter 7, and you can see right here the red area is Louisiana Purchase. It effectively doubles the size of America. Here's what America was at that point right before they got Louisiana Purchase. And then we really didn't know what we had, so they sent Lewis and Clark, and we can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but they start here in St. Louis and go all the way to the Pacific to find out what the heck is out there. What did we just buy? So those are the two big things that we need to remember about Thomas Jefferson. And one last thing about it, his close ties to France probably helped in this purchase because we did purchase it from France. Thanks for watching. See you next time.